Good morning. We are live here. Good morning. We're live here, and welcome to Jonesy Chats Wrestling. In just a few seconds, we're going to be telling you about WWE Fastlane 2021 with our predictions. On the road to WrestleMania. Stay tuned. We want to hear your opinions in the comments and predictions. We hope you watch Jonesy Chats Wrestling with George and Steve coming up next. Stay tuned, guys. Hi, welcome back to Jonesy Chats Wrestling on YouTube. I'm George, and this is Steve, and we've got a fun show coming up for you this morning. In just a few seconds, we're going to be talking about all the talking points and predictions going into Sunday's Fastlane pay-per-view. If anyone has joined us first time today, new viewers and old, welcome. We hope you enjoy the show. Please give us a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel for all that good stuff. Please support what we're trying to do here at Jonesy Chats Wrestling. How are you this morning, Steve?
Very good, man. Very, very good.
Good to have you back here. It's good to hear sort of your predictions going into Fastlane on this road to WrestleMania. Are you excited for the pay-per-view on Sunday?
Well, it should be all right, actually. I'm probably going to end up staying up like I normally do because I'm an idiot.
At least it may only be a short time this time. At least it won't be as long as the AEW show.
4.5 hours, yeah.
No, definitely. I'm going to go into kind of the talking points of this pay-per-view, the predictions. I've got my bet at the end. Follow at your own risk as such. But no, definitely looking into this. I think this is the one of the last pay-per-views for them to really shape kind of the raid to WrestleMania now. Do you think they've done a good job of the build so far for this pay-per-view?
I suppose with some matches, yeah. I mean, if you look at Brian Reigns, yeah, they've done well. Sheamus, Drew, they've done well. But obviously a couple of the other matches are kind of just really filler. I mean, this Alexa Randy one should have happened weeks ago. I don't understand why they're leaving it 3 weeks until Mania before doing it.
I think the film with it as well, it's clearly destined for a big comeback, but we're going to start there first. So let's start still on WWE.com officially. Apparently this is going to be a match, Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton, intergender match, which is kind of rare. Looking into this then, so for me, this has obviously been building. It's been building up for many months, obviously since TLC back in December. The Fiend has been missing. Let's look at this then. Kind of we break this down into a bit more detail. Obviously, Alexa Bliss, she doesn't really have matches anymore. Her last match was kind of back in February against Nikki Cross. Before that, she beat Asuka sort of back at January on Raw, and she's not had a match kind of since February. Looking at Randy Orton, he's not really been on a great run. He lost to AJ Styles back at the start of March. He's lost previously to Drew McIntyre. He's lost to Edge. So for me, this is Randy Orton. Ever since Randy Orton burnt the Fiend, he's definitely lost his kind of momentum from a guy that won the world title last year. What's your early kind of prediction, if you're going to predict a winner, if you can?
Well, yeah, exactly. I think this is just going to end in a no contest. I think Fiend's going to return. On the Alexa Bliss thing, I want to ask you this actually, because I thought this for a long, long time. Ever since she had that massive injury where she was out for a long period of time, and then she came back and then she did the whole tag team run with Nikki Cross.
Yeah.
Do you think that she's still suffering from an injury? Because she was a dominant female champion. Like she was Raw champion. She was first Raw, first SmackDown champion. But then she got this injury, come back, and since she started the tag team stuff with Nikki Cross, she's never. I'm not surprised why she's not back in the main title scene.
I think the problem is she's been so distracted by this Fiend feud. She's obviously been the spare part while they can't bring the Fiend back to TV. So this feud really over 3 months hasn't been the Fiend versus Randy Orton. It's been Randy Orton versus Alexa Bliss. What I would hope is they get this feud done. Obviously, they're going to do Sunday's event. And then what it would kind of be is obviously WrestleMania, we're going to get this match. From then onwards, I'd like to see her go back to the women's division because I think that's sort of where she belongs. She's a fantastic talent. And I think it's okay. I think she's done a great job, but the interesting part is whether we're going to see any sort of moveset in this match. I think the thing with it is we've seen her already take an RKO. We've seen that she can do voodoo. For me, I'd be very surprised if WWE let Randy Orton do some sort of move. This match for me isn't ending by pinfall. It's going to be a no contest. Randy Orton's not winning this match, I don't think, though. I think he may win by disqualification, maybe.
Could you possibly see this being sort of a mini sort of cinematic match?
Yeah, quite possibly. Everything with kind of Alexa Bliss and Randy so far, a lot of it has been cinematic. For me, obviously, it's going towards the bigger goal, which is at WrestleMania, which will be the Fiend and Randy Orton. That's kind of where it is. But this comeback for the Fiend, credit to the Reed, they've done a great job of keeping him on TV. I couldn't not believe when he got burnt back at TLC that he's been off TV for so long. But I'm actually quite intrigued to see this match, even though it may not be any good. Have you got sort of so your prediction is a no contest?
No
then are you agreeing with me?
yeah.
No contest, yeah. So
But
for me,
just,
I won't be betting on it. That's for sure. After you, Steve, go on.
just out of interest, how do you reckon they're going to get Bliss out of this whole Fiend saga? Once she's done with it, or how are they going to get her out of it?
What I would think is maybe sort of. I always thought they'd do this sooner. At TLC, I thought they may do it that she's the one that's sort of risk, if that makes sense. Randy's going to threaten her. Fiend comes out and makes a save. She then gets taken off by injury or something like that. So for me, I think she needs a month away to come back. And the problem is, once they've done Randy Orton and Fiend, for me, I think this is going to be a one and done match. And then I could see Randy Orton being off TV for some time. I could see him go away for 2 or 3 months, like John Cena did last year at WrestleMania, where he's away. But then the Fiend's obviously going to come back with a new character. He'll have a new costume. I believe this is almost like the 2021 version of Kane coming in for the Undertaker. You know what I mean? It's that big slow build where the Fiend's gone away. He'll obviously need to come back as a heel for me. The interesting dynamic in this match is who's the babyface, who's the heel. Surely Randy Orton would be the heel because he set fire to the Fiend, but the way Randy Orton's been treated on TV and portrayed, it doesn't really kind of come across like that. Have you got anything else you want to add with that?
No, sounds good to me, man. But my problem is Randy is, for the last year, everything Randy's done, he seems to be interested in. And when Randy's interested in what he's doing, he does really good stuff. And for him to now sort of finish this Fiend feud and then be off TV for a month, I think it's going to be a loss, really, if that's what they do.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting. I think it's going to be a fun match. I'm just going to quickly go to the comments. So we've got a couple of viewers. Thank you, everyone, for watching so far. It's great to see you up this early this morning. Sorry to wake you up, but it's a good start to the weekend, that's for sure. People that are off. I'm going to go to the comments. So we're going to go to Always Talk Wrestling. Always Talk Wrestling. Thank you for watching, buddy. My predictions are Randy Orton, Drew, Nia Baszler, Roman Apollo, and Shane. Yeah, I think they look solid predictions, to be fair. We'll probably go through that sort of later on. Going to go to another one. I've got Steve from SCW in the comments. Hi, Steve. Good morning to you, mate. I think he needs to come back with a fresh look, even more twisted than before. Do you guys agree? WWE used to do this for Kane every few years. 100% you're on the money there, my man. I think it's overdue. I think this comeback has been built for a while. I think the interesting thing is whether this music box Alexa Bliss has had on Raw over the last few weeks, whether that's going to come into fruition. Maybe she winds that up and then the Fiend sort of just is giant or something. It's a very interesting kind of dynamic though. But going to go into kind of the next match, and so the next match we've got on this, I'm just going to try and pick what I think will be sort of next is important, really, if that makes sense. So we've obviously got the main event, which we'll save for later. The next match we've got here, we have got the Apollo Crews versus Big E in kind of a title match. Obviously, this has been building for a while. So looking at this one, I'm going to break this down into a bit of detail. So Apollo Crews, he's obviously been sort of on a recent win. He got a win over Nakamura back on the 20th of February. He holds a win over Sami Zayn as well. His recent new character looks pretty promising. It's shown some dominance. He has previously had this feud with Apollo. This obviously was back in kind of January, the early part of the year. In the series between the both, it's currently tied at sort of Big E's winning by one match. Apollo drew the other match. And Big E's actually on a massive winning streak. Big E hasn't actually lost a match in a singles capacity since July last year. So this guy's on a massive winning run. For me, Big E obviously beating people such as Nakamura. Also, he's beat Sami Zayn. And he's a really solid Intercontinental champion. I think since he's had the belt, he's been really, really solid with that. What's your kind of early predictions, if that makes sense, of this match, and how will it go?
This is probably, for me, one of the hardest ones to call because Apollo, I think, finally, he's got to a point now where he is a character that's like he can now develop. Like, how long has he been in WWE, and they've done nothing with him. Now that they've got this new sort of Nigerian prince character going for him, I think Apollo's going to win, but it makes me worry for what they're going to do with Big E going forward, especially with only 3 weeks till Mania. And it's like you can't put Big E in like the Andre Memorial Battle Royal. I just think it'd be a waste of his talent. So unless they go to another 1v1 for the title or throw Sammy in for a triple threat at Mania, maybe. But so yeah, I can see Apollo winning this one.
Yeah, I think, look at this. If I break this down, the prediction for me, Big E's obviously been Intercontinental champion since the Christmas episode of SmackDown, so he's had the belt for a while. For me, as much as I want Apollo to win, I just think WWE are going to do the opposite. I think, unfortunately, WWE don't really get behind these gimmicks when people need it. I know you're going to have a rematch at WrestleMania, so I'm going to put it out there. I've gone for kind of Big E. I think Big E's going to win. I want Apollo to win. Let's be clear. I'd love it if Apollo wins, but for me, I think it depends on what they do, really. Maybe if they want to, it may be a no contest as well. If they're going to do this match at WrestleMania in 3 weeks' time, then maybe they will do a no contest. But for me, very hard hitting. I'm just surprised we haven't got sort of a no disqualification element or some sort of weapons element to this match, because I think clearly the steps have played a pivotal part so far every week on television so far. I don't know what your thoughts of that are, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it probably just being a normal one-on-one and then going to a sort of probably a ladder match at Mania, multi-man ladder match, That would have been my guess, really, because they love doing a ladder match for the Intercontinental title at Mania. They've got history with doing that. But it's just, I know what you mean, though. It's like your heart's telling you one thing and who you want to win, but WWE booking is telling you who's going to win, and it's one of them things, man.
Don't get me wrong. If Apollo wins, it'll be great. The thing is, if they do this multi-man ladder match, as you said, which I think is a great shout. I think definitely you could get people involved with that. That is the way they're kind of teasing. Credit, shout out to SCW in the comments as well. He's been saying that for a while, and I agree with it. I think it's one of them things where I don't see them changing the belt. I don't see the point in changing the belt sort of 3 weeks to WrestleMania. They always want the glow of a champion at WrestleMania. And that's kind of the thing. Although Apollo needs a win, for me, if Apollo is going to get beat here, let's do a DQ. I know I'm not a fan of countouts and DQs, but let's not pin the guy. The guy's got this fantastic new gimmick. It'll be a shame to kind of ruin that sort of 2 weeks on with this loss, really, because Big E, for me, the win streak he's on, I cannot believe that Wimbledon. He hasn't lost a singles match since July last year. It's pretty fantastic, really. I cannot believe he's on that run. I'm sure you probably agree.
Yeah, no. So, but the thing is it's long overdue for Big E. Big E needs to be in the main event scene, and it's like if and how they transition him to it is going to be the one to watch.
Definitely. We're going to go to this tag team match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. So we've obviously got defending champions Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler with Reginald against Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. So kind of looking at this one. So Nia and Shayna have held wins over Asuka and Charlotte at the Royal Rumble, where they won the belt back at the kickoff show. They've also beat Sasha and Bianca last month for Elimination Chamber. They've also beat Lana and Naomi recently on the March 8th Raw. Nia and Shayna as a team haven't lost a match kind of since December TLC, where they lost the belts to Charlotte and Asuka. So they are on kind of fairly good run. Interesting enough, Nia's the one that's getting the wins. Nia's been on a fantastic kind of run, picking up wins over people. Shayna is on kind of a losing streak in sort of singles matches as well. And I think the thing with it, I think it's kind of a really interesting dynamic match. It's a strange choice to have this match as a rematch. Clearly, the focus point is Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Reginald is a very important part. He's played a clear part on TV in recent weeks up to this build. Who's he going to be with? Is he going to side with Sasha Banks? That's something I've got to consider as well. What's your kind of early prediction of this, and how do you see this match playing out?
Reginald wins.
Reginald wins, yeah.
It's just a filler for Sasha and Bianca. I reckon it's going to be the last. Obviously, you've had the last couple of weeks where you've had Reginald interfering with these matches, and then Bianca stating that this is your fault. You need to sort this out. It's going to be a Nia and Shayna win. The only other thing I worry about is who's going to take these titles off these two, because, like I said, they've been so dominant. They've been on a winning streak since Christmas. Well, yeah, since then. The only maybe Natalya and Tamina, but it's going to be hard to find someone who's going to beat them for them titles.
I think it's a really, really good shout you make. I'll be very surprised if we get new tag team champions here. For me, I've gone for Nia and Shayna. For me, I don't think Bianca and Sasha need the title belts. I think the dissension needs to start. I think Reginald's a vital part. I don't really know how they're going to get Reginald on board with Sasha Banks. I don't know how that transition is going to happen. But for me, I think it'll be the same as Elimination Chamber. I don't see them sort of changing the belts here. I think when we look at it, Sasha Banks, she's been a fantastic singles wrestler. She's obviously had the belt since October, where she won at Hell in a Cell, and she's not obviously lost a match in a singles capacity since August, where she lost to Asuka at SummerSlam. So for me, I think she's a vital part. The Bianca Belair push is on. Obviously, she lost this past week on SmackDown in that tag match, which was a bit disappointing. But for me, I think this is just designed really to fill the card. It'll be good in ring, and I think this hopefully will kick on the Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair feud to sort of get that WrestleMania build really started. Because at the moment, it's going to be a great match in ring, but it's all about Reginald Mania at the moment, which is a vital part. I'm starting to warm to him to a certain point, but it needs to make sense logically. I think if he's going to help Sasha turn heel, then fine.
Stop putting him in these women's matches if you can't do a move against them. What's the point?
100% on the money. That I would agree with you. There is no point to that. I think the thing is, he's a good comedic character. He's got great movesets of when he's dancing on the commentary tables and stuff. That's fine. But for me, this is the point to turn Sasha heel totally. I think this is the point where Sasha's going in as the arrogant heel, the champion, and I think Bianca Belair's the baby face. And I think for me, really, we need to get this singles match element going, because the problem we're having in WWE at the moment is all the singles women's wrestling champions are in tag matches all the time against his tag team titles, and it's all sort of one in the same division in that respect. Which I think it'd be great if there was that difference between both of them, if that makes sense. I don't know if you agree or not.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because at the minute there's sort of, especially with Sasha, she's kind of tweener, because obviously when she beat Bayley won that title, and then obviously Bianca winning the Rumble after the sort of SmackDown after the Rumble, whatever, Sasha just instantly transitioned to arrogant heel, and it was like, it's kind of, I haven't liked her turn to heel. I think it's been really awkward. I think you could have done this probably better, like, because you had Sasha being babyface up until, say, the SmackDown after Rumble, and then Bianca comes out and all of a sudden she's arrogant heel. I just didn't like it.
I'm going to go to the comments quickly. So I've got a comment here from SCW. Thank you for your comment, mate. I'll just go bring it up for you now. So will reconcile with Sasha tonight on SmackDown? Yes, maybe, quite possibly. That's a big main event potentially on SmackDown. Actually, probably won't be the main event, but this SmackDown Go Home show is lined up. We've got Edge Jey Uso. Winner will be the Enforcer. We've got this women's title match, Sasha Banks versus Nia Jax. That's another big match. Potentially, I think the thing she could do, but then you don't really want to. I think he should play both sides, really. I believe. What do you reckon? Do you see Reginald going with Sasha tonight on SmackDown at all?
I honestly, man, I don't know. Like I said, I sort of zoned out at the minute when it comes to Reginald. Like, I want to see him do something entertaining, but I haven't got a clue what he's going to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, we're going to kind of go into sort of the next match. And so the next match we have Drew McIntyre facing Sheamus. Obviously, this match has been building for quite a while. We look at this now. Obviously, Drew McIntyre, he was one of the most protected wrestlers in 2020 in WWE. He does have recent wins over The Miz. He's beat Sheamus already once. He did lose a match in the gauntlet to Sheamus, which was one of them. He beat his last match with Sheamus was a no disqualification in the draw in the no DQ match. And looking at kind of this match, obviously, Drew McIntyre, he's beat people such as AJ Styles. He's a guy that's really, really solid. Obviously, at the start of the year, he's beaten people such as Keith Lee at Legends Night. He's already got these wins over Sheamus, and he's obviously going in facing Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. I think the thing looking at this is Sheamus has done some great recent work. This is going to be a very good match. We've seen it a lot recently, but I think it's very hard hitting. I'm surprised we've not gone last man standing or no DQ again on this, because for me, I don't think this is just going to stand the rim. What's your kind of thoughts of this feud so far?
Yeah, it's been really good, but I feel this is where Sheamus's road comes to an abrupt halt, because, like I said to you the other day, I think it would have been better if he'd have got like a DQ win against Bobby Lashley, and then obviously I would like to have seen him pick up a win tonight and then come out Monday and been like, look, I've beaten both of you in the last 2 weeks. I deserve to be in this main event scene, but I think Drew's going to win. I think it's just going to be Drew's going to win. It's going to put it to bed, and then Drew's just going to focus on Bobby up until Mania.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'd be interested to see if Drew wins, then we get Bobby Lashley run out, because Bobby Lashley isn't on this card in any way at the moment. So that's kind of something. Looking at Sheamus hasn't been a particularly solid run, really. He's obviously lost recently to Bobby Lashley. There's no shame in that. That was a hard-hitting match. He's obviously lost recently to Drew as well, which kind of makes sense, but he has beat people such as Jeff Hardy. For me, he's kind of going in. I would say he doesn't really have a chance. It'd be great to see him everyone get swerved and Sheamus pull out the win here to further elevate him up the card. But for me, I think this would be hard hitting. This is the win Drew needed. And the Sheamus not a number one contendership, really, because I think if it was number one contendership, it would mean more. But for me, I think Drew's winning this. Have you got anything else you want to add before we get that main event up?
No, it's all good, man.
Okay, so we're going to go to the main event. Obviously, this is the main event now. Universal Championship. We've got Roman Reigns defending champion against Daniel Bryan. George Jey Uso will be the
George, you're cutting out, man.
He's obviously had the Universal title since he won it at Payback back in kind of August, so he's had it for a while. And his last loss was against King Corbin. I always say this every single month. 2019 was the last time Roman Reigns lost a singles match or got pinned. So looking at Daniel Bryan's always like the nearly kid. He's the one that was going to win the Royal Rumble, supposedly didn't do it. He's the one that went through the Elimination Chamber, shot to everybody, got the win there, but then got destroyed by Roman Reigns. He's another one that's obviously a feel-good factor. It's very much this is going back to the 2015 kind of Fastlane main event. This is this feud almost over again, but Roman's a heel. Looking at Daniel Bryan obviously qualified for this match when he beat Jey Uso in the steel cage on SmackDown, and that was obviously quite recently. And he's obviously sort of an interesting character, because the thing with Daniel Bryan is, although he's winning the odd match or two, he's actually kind of losing. He lost to Cesaro like back to back. That's kind of been forgotten about earlier on. And I think for me, this is a really interesting kind of match, but there is only really one person I think is going to win. What's your prediction? How do you think it's going to play out?
I actually think this is going to be a DQ victory for Daniel Bryan.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah,
I'd like, it's the same sort of thing with Sheamus. I can't understand where Daniel's going to go to Mania. I think unless they're going to keep Daniel in it and again go to a triple threat at Mania, because this is how it seems to be booked. Like everything's going to be triple threat, like multi-man matches. But yeah, I think it's either going to be a Roman pinfall or a Daniel Bryan DQ victory. That title isn't changing hands. It's not, no way. It's staying with Roman.
I think the interesting dynamic is if whoever the enforcer is, we presume it's going to be Edge. So it'd be interesting to see if Edge accidentally cost Daniel Bryan, but Daniel Bryan's got to win this triple threat. They've built nothing up for him.
Oh, do you know what? I didn't even think about that. Yeah, exactly. There's an enforcer, isn't there? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
I think the thing with it is maybe that'll play in it, but if Daniel Bryan is in the triple threat, it certainly makes WrestleMania more open. There is a chance then of Roman dropping the belt, I think, which will make it an interesting main event, so to speak, if it is main event. But looking at this match, I think it'll be fun. In ring, it's going to be good. For me, my prediction, I'm going out. I'll put Roman Reigns. I've got Roman Reigns sort of to win. I think, although you could be right about disqualification, one way or another, Roman Reigns, I don't think it's getting pinned here. I think that's kind of safe to say, isn't it?
No, definitely. He's definitely not losing that title. No way.
I think another interesting dynamic is if Jey Uso does lose this sort of enforcer match on SmackDown tonight as well, whether he'll be involved in this sort of match as well. I think that'll be kind of interesting as well.
Yeah,
I don't know what you think.
Probably be lurking around outside the ring, and he'll like if Edge is the enforcer, then Jey will get involved with Edge, blah blah blah, and then you'll probably get a comedic spot where Jey gets thrown out by the ref. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, definitely. Have you got any else before I pull out my bet for the weekend?
No,
go risk, everybody. This is a brave one. I think this was. Let's bring it up. So I'm going to put it down the bottom. So my bet. This is my parlay accumulator for this weekend's pay-per-view. I've got Roman Reigns to win, Shayna and Nia to win, and I've also got one other wrestler. The one other wrestler I've got is Shane McMahon as well. That's a match we forgot. Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. Shane McMahon, Braun. There's question marks whether that will happen or not. How could I forget that? There's question marks about whether this will happen or not. That's probably why we haven't covered it as of yet. But if it does happen, for me, it's a lead into a WrestleMania slime match of some sort, we believe, or some sort of gimmick. Do you think this match will happen? And you decide about it if it does?
No.
No,
it's going to be like one of them. Do you remember like you get the fun fair or the circus or whatever? You get them dunk tanks. That's what it's going to be. There's just going to be like one of them's going to be sitting on a board, and one of them's going to throw a baseball or something, get a sign, and the other one's just going to get dunked in a tank. I just cannot be bothered with this. It's absolutely pointless.
I think the thing is, it'll be okay, but it seems strange to do it at Fastlane and then drop it and then have it at WrestleMania.
It will be entertaining, but I don't care for it.
I think the interesting thing about it, it's not on WWE.com yet. Sky are still taking bets for it, which kind of made me surprised. But I've got Shane McMahon to win if he's in it, which call me crazy. I cannot believe Shane McMahon's going to beat Braun, but I think to get to WrestleMania, I think they have to do it.
He's the best in the world. You can't. He's the best. He's proven. He's got a trophy and everything.
Moving forward rapidly, I've got one last observation as well. I just want to raise this for you, Steve, as well. Obviously, this pay-per-view is quite an interesting note. We haven't got sort of people such as Matt Riddle. We've got no sort of United States title. We've got no sort of men's tag team title on this card. We've got no sort of women's single title on this card for either sort of brand. Do you think it's a strange choice by WWE not to have the champions defending? It seems to be a very undefensive title sort of.
They don't care about tag team titles on the main roster. Because I'm not being funny, Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler won them tag team titles. I think I've seen them once on TV since they won them.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, well that's pointless. They honestly do not care for main event main roster tag team. That's why it's such a background thing. Like if you want to see any story development with the tag team scene, you have to go to Raw Talk or Smack Talk. Do you know what I mean? Because that's where all them stories play out. Like the other week, you had Street Profits going on to Sonya Deville on SmackDown, asking about their rematch. And it's like, that's where you've got to go to find the story development for the tag team divisions. As for the US title, it's Riddle. I'm zoned out with Riddle. And until they give him something decent to do with his character, or they put him in a good feud like Keith Lee or something, because I've seen Keith Lee versus Riddle.
Yeah. I can see that in WrestleMania, to be fair.
I've seen it in independent shows. It's a money match, but they're not going to do it. And unfortunately, Vince just doesn't see the potential. It's like, when was the last time Aleister Black was on TV?
Yeah, the problem with that, Aleister Black, obviously his partner got fired. And ever since then, he's been sort of neglected. Ever since Heyman moved from Raw to SmackDown, he's been neglected. I think the thing for me, it's one of them things. I'm surprised we haven't got Riddle versus Ali again. The positive about this, because there's only 6 matches, the pay-per-view should probably only be 2.5 hours, which is quite watchable, which I think is good. I'm excited for the pay-per-view, definitely. In terms of content here on this channel, we're going to have a review on Monday. Me and yourself will be here Monday morning, probably similar time, covering sort of the pay-per-view and our thoughts of it. In terms of me, I've got a review of SmackDown coming tomorrow with Steve from SCW. Looking forward to doing that. Probably be up about 4:45 in the afternoon. That'll be a live video if you want to tune in and leave some comments and stuff. But I appreciate you taking the time this morning to watch a video.
No problems, man.
This has been Jonesy Chats Wrestling. It's been good to have you here, Steve, and I hope you enjoy the pay-per-view. And enjoy the rest of your Friday, people. And before I forget, please always give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't, if you can, just because we're on the road to 80. It'd be great to get that to 80 by Fastlane. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch it, and enjoy the rest of your day.